Part 7. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 61. Chapter 61. Go for a walk in the city. Ning 11 made half a pot of crayfish in the evening, and the whole family had a great time eating it. Liu Bei's mouth was stuffed with lobster meat and he said vaguely, "Can I buy some more crayfish when my sister-in-law goes to get the signboard?" When the second brother goes to get the sign, remember to remind the second brother to bring back some crayfish. Ning 11 replied hurriedly, showing off the crayfish. Crayfish is not a valuable thing in this era, and not many people are willing to buy it. At most, people will take it back and cook it after catching it in the river. Of course, the taste is definitely not as good as what Ning 11 makes. Liu Bei nodded hurriedly. He would definitely not forget to remind his second brother. In a short while, Ning 11's bowl already contained less than half a bowl of lobsters, which were all peeled by Lu Nan. Lu Nan couldn't eat crayfish while taking Chinese medicine, so he concentrated on peeling crayfish for Ning 11, allowing Ning 11 to free his hands and enjoy the meal. Eat. Zhang Ying also had half a bowl of crayfish in her bowl, but she didn't eat it as peacefully as Ning 11 did. "Brother, don't bother peeling it for me. You can eat it yourself. This thing will definitely be comfortable with wine. There are more in the basin, I'll eat them later." He continued to put the peeled crayfish into his wife's bowl. He was very happy. He hadn't seen his wife's appetite so good for a long time. During this period, He has also learned to care about his wife. This is all thanks to Zionan for setting a good example. Wang Ziyukan smiled half-smilingly. It was probably after Lu Nan picked out fish bones for Ning 11 for the first time that He started to behave like this. Followed the example. "Brother, he was very good to me before." Although Zhang Ying would complain sometimes, she was content. She always knew that He was very good to her. Secretary Lu rarely interjected, "That's because our two daughters-in-law are worthy of people's heart." The whole family was showing off the crayfish lively, while some people were in pain at the moment. Municipal People's Hospital, Inpatient Department. In less than a month, Ninghong has lost her former splendor. Her whole body has been tortured to the point of being deformed. Her eye sockets are sunken, her complexion is sallow, and her body is so thin that only skin and bones are left. She curled up her body and her mouth opened involuntarily, revealing her chattering teeth. She clenched her teeth tightly and squeezed out a painful moan from between her teeth. "It hurts, it hurts, ah, it hurts. Mom, I hurt, ah, it hurts." Lu Shufang sat aside and patted Ninghong's back, shedding tears in discomfort. "Hong, if we bear with her, she will arrive tomorrow. As long as she is a match, we can have the surgery right away. What if we don't match? Ah, it hurts." Ninghong's face was filled with tears of pain. She clutched the quilt tightly and rolled on the hospital bed in pain. "Yes, Ning 11 can match it, so can she. Woo, it hurts, I need painkillers, Mom, I need painkillers." Lu Shufang felt terribly distressed, but she could only comfort her softly. "Hong can bear it no matter how hard she endures, the doctor said she can only take it once a day." "Ah!" Ninghong let out another scream. She let go of the quilt with both hands and slapped the iron bed crazily. Ning 11, you deserve to die. You deserve to die." When Ning 11 was mentioned, Lu Shufang gritted her teeth. "Yes, the most damnable thing. It's that little bitch. I should have thrown her into the snow or into the well to kill her. The who repays kindness with revenge dares to go against us. He dares not to donate a kidney to my family. Hong. She will definitely die. A good death, for sure. Ning 11, I will definitely make you regret it, I will." Ninghong's dry eyes were full of resentment. "Start from her, start from that woman, I want that woman to die. Hong, don't worry, I will make sure that can't leave Sichuan this time." Ning Dalong, who was standing in front of the window and smoking a cigarette, stared at the bright moon in the night sky. His eyes seemed to be filled with poison. Seems like it? Lu Shufang nodded heavily. Yes, Hong Hong, this time we will make sure that cannot leave the hospital and kill him. The next one will be Ning 11, that little bitch. Ning 11 didn't know that she had been resented by Ning Dalong, his wife, and Ning Hong again. Of course, she wouldn't be afraid even if she knew. She was reborn from the future and knew more than Ning Hong and the others. Even if Ning Hong's biological father jumped out early, there was nothing to be afraid of. If that person dared to help Ning Hong deal with her, she would dare to ruin his reputation, losing all the honor he had now. Because she was going to the city today, Ning 11 got up early in the morning and took out a floral skirt from the closet. Chen Jing chose this skirt for her. She was either setting up a stall or on the way to set up a stall every day, so she had no chance to wear it. It just so happens that I can wear it when I go to the city this time. I want to dress decently to avoid getting looked down upon when shopping. Today Lu Nan was also going to the city. He specially took out the white striped shirt that Ning 11 designed for him and put on the matching trousers. After breakfast, the couple got on the number 3 bus and went out together with Lu He and his wife. Xiao 11, you are going to the city now. Don't think about saving money. Just use what you need and pay it out of the public account. You were here to run our business, so you should use the money. Xiao 11. There are many people in the city, and there must be many people with bad intentions. Don't leave Zionan's sight. Brother knows me so well. It's best to let him accompany you to buy a sealing machine. Do you understand? Zhang Yinghe had already explained these things yesterday, but she couldn't help but explain them again. She had never been to the city, but she knew that the place was not simpler than the town, so she was inevitably a little nervous. Second sister-in-law, I know. Ning 11 didn't mind it, and nodded in agreement with a smile. Just as Lu Nan said before, it doesn't matter if she cuts off ties with the Ning family. She still has the Lu family, and every one of them people were very nice to her, and she was content. By the time they arrived at Zhenghua Garment Factory, Lu Su was already waiting for them. The three of them got into the minivan and set off towards the city. It takes more than 3 hours to drive to the city. The road is not easy to walk. The dirt road is full of potholes. From time to time, people will be thrown high by the car. After stumbling all the way, we finally arrived in the city around 10 o'clock. Chuandu is still under construction. Many places are fenced off and buildings are being built in full swing. Lu Su parked the car in a spacious place and took the two of them out of the car and entered the Zhoxiang Comprehensive Market and entered a clothing store. After some greetings with the boss, Lu Su smiled and said to the two of them, "It takes half a day to unload the goods here. Xiao Nan, take Xiao 11 to the market for a walk. After unloading the goods, we will have lunch together and go to the electrical and mechanical market in the afternoon." Coming out of the clothing store, Ning 11 looked thoughtfully at the sign next to the street. Could this be the predecessor of the Little Lotus Wholesale Market? In the previous life, although the Little Lotus Wholesale Market was not as famous as Yuwu, it was still quite famous. This place mainly engaged in the wholesale of small commodities, clothing, and fabrics. Many people from other provinces came here to purchase goods. End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 62. Chapter 62. The ant suddenly appeared. There is only one street in Zhoxiang Comprehensive Market now. You can see the end of the street when you stand on the street. The shops on both sides are all self-built houses and there are all kinds of shops. On the street, there is a clothing store here, a cloth store there, a small commodity store there, etc. It looks a bit messy. There are quite a lot of people in this small street. Most of these people are wholesalers of goods. They are not afraid of letting people hear the prices of goods. They stand in the store or at the door and discuss the wholesale prices intensely. Similarly, the people who come to this place are all wholesalers. People like Ning 11 and Lunan who are just shopping are quite rare. That girl not far away, a fashionably dressed older sister, suddenly jumped out and grabbed Ning 11's arm. Ning 11 frowned and looked at the other person, and Lunan also looked at the other person with displeasure. Don't get me wrong, the eldest sister saw that the two of them had misunderstood. She quickly let go of Ning 11 and explained with a smile on her face, I just saw that the shirt on this little brother looked good, and I wanted to ask where you can buy it. Shirt. Afraid that the two of them wouldn't believe it, the eldest sister pointed to the shop next to her, this is my shop. I really stopped you because I really saw the shirt on my brother's body. Ning 11's eyes flashed with understanding, that is, Lunan was sitting. If he were standing, this eldest sister would have even taken a fancy to the pants. We make them in our own factory. The eldest sister's eyes lit up and she immediately asked, the garment factory run by the girl's family. Ning 11 nodded, my eldest brother drove it. The eldest sister asked anxiously, can we talk? I want to get a batch of these shirts from your factory. An older brother next to him came up with a smile and said, girl, can I also buy a batch of shirts from your factory? The eldest sister glared at the eldest brother with a dark face, I invited you here with the surname Li, why don't you go and cool down? Just because you stopped him first, it doesn't mean I can't inquire about him. Seeing that the two of them were about to quarrel, Ning 11 hurriedly said, if you want to get shirts from our factory, you need to discuss it with my elder brother. He happens to be delivering goods here today. He should be unloading the goods in front at the moment. You can go over there, find him, his truck has the words Zhenghua Garment Factory on it. The two people found out where the shirt came from, and didn't even bother to say thank you. They didn't even look at the store. They ran towards the street. The eldest sister couldn't outrun the eldest brother by herself, so she tugged and tugged at him anxiously. This scene is really funny. Ning 11 twitched. It seemed that the shirts she designed would soon become popular in Sichuan, and Zhenghua Garment Factory would also make a lot of money from it. The two of them continued to walk forward. Lunan looked like a living sign when he appeared in this outfit. Along the way, the two of them met several people who came to inquire about the origin of the shirt. Ning 11 kindly asked them to talk to Lu Su by themselves. It didn't take long for the two of them to finish shopping the entire street. There was a large open space in front of them, some of which were under construction, and some of which were vacant. Hall buildings should be built in this area in the near future, and it will become a small lotus wholesale market that will become famous throughout the country. There are quite a lot of people at the end of the street, and most of them come out from the other side carrying large and small bags. Lunan pointed to the other side, that's the train station over there. Oh. I'm just wondering why there are so many people. Ning 11 smiled and was about to push Lunan back, but her eyes were caught by someone. Ning Dalong, he is not in the hospital right now, what are you doing here? Ning Dalong looked at the crowd. After a while, he waved to the crowd with a smile, and opened his mouth to shout something, but Ning 11 didn't hear it because of the distance. A woman walked up to Ning Dalong carrying a cloth bag. Ning Xiaohe, her aunt? Ning 11's eyes fell on Ning Xiaohe. Compared with the person in the photo, the person in front of her looked a little older and weathered, but there was not much change. Brother, can I ask where you bought the clothes you are wearing? Brother, I don't know where you bought these clothes. Before Ning 11 could see clearly, several people came around to inquire about Lunan's clothes and chatted with each other for a few words. When she went to look for Brother Ning and Ning Xiaohe again, they had disappeared. Ning 11 could only retract her gaze and push Lunan back, I just saw my aunt. Lunan raised his head and looked at Ning 11, Aunt. Well. The person in the necklace around my neck, Ning Dalong, should be here to pick up my aunt. Perhaps I came back to see Ninghong, Lunan answered casually, lowering his head with a flash of doubt in his eyes. Ning Xiao he, a person who never appeared in the previous life, how could she appear here in this life? Still, she has always been in contact with the Ning family, but they just didn't know it. Yeah, Ning 11 responded without saying anything more. The two quickly returned to the clothing store where Lu Su took them to before. The goods have been unloaded. Lu Su is sitting in the store and listening to the boss bragging, Xiao Lu, I'm not bragging to you. This place will definitely prosper in the future. The land I bought is really cheap. I plan to build a building and rent it out downstairs. I can also open another shop and use the upstairs as a rental. You see, there are more people working and doing business in this market, and the housing will definitely be easier to rent. Then congratulations to Boss Yang. When Boss Yang's business expands, don't forget about me. This little brother Lu Su dealt with it with a smile. He had a polite smile on his face, but he didn't care about the other party's words. Create the slightest ripple. By this much seeing Ning 11 and Lunan, Lu Su stood up and his eyes fell on Lunan. Lunan had many bags on his body, and there were many bags hanging on the back of the wheelchair. Ning 11 responded with a smile, yeah. I bought some weird stuff. Okay, Boss Yang, I won't disturb your business. Lu Su greeted the boss and took Lunan and Ning 11 away. Lu Su led the two of them to the parking place, opened the truck, and helped Ning 11 put the things he bought into the car. Seeing that the truck was empty, Ning 11 subconsciously asked, brother, have you run out of shirts? I haven't said anything yet. Several bosses saw the shirt on me and immediately asked me for the goods. Lu Su patted the non-existent dust on his shirt. He specially wore a new shirt today for this purpose. It's better to sell new shirts. Who knows that there is no need to talk at all, the bosses have already taken the initiative to ask about the shirts. Speaking of shirts, the smile on Lu Su's face deepened, you two have been shopping around and placed a lot of advertisements for me. In just a short time, I received 21 orders, and the quantity is not small. It's going to be busy in the factory for a while. Brother, when shirts flow into the market in large quantities, there will soon be many factories making the same shirts. Ning 11's reminder made Lu Su raise his eyebrows. Let's go and make a call first. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 63. Chapter 63, High-Level Talk. The three of them walked to the opposite side together and found a public phone to make a call. He was so happy that he forgot about the trend in the clothing industry. He now had the upper hand. If he didn't take advantage of other manufacturers to produce shirts, he would make more. Some shirts came out and his advantage was wasted. Lu Su called back and explained the development of the situation to Chen Jing. Chen Jing was very smart and knew how to arrange it without him having to explain. While Lu Su was on the phone, Ning 11 observed the street. This is the number 7 middle school in the city. It is more impressive and bigger than the middle schools in their town. Not to mention other places, the front door looks much bigger. The streets outside the school are lined with shops on both sides. There are snack sellers and others. Bookstore and stationery store. It is still summer vacation, and there are no students on the street. There are almost no people in bookstores and stationery stores. At this time, noodle shops, restaurants, and snack bars are booming at noon. People waiting to eat in many places are standing outside the door. Boss, listen to me. At the entrance of a stationery store, a man in a white shirt was pushed out by the store owner. He was still about to speak, but was interrupted by the boss. Young man, you are very capable of saying that the stationery you are selling is too expensive. Students in a small place like us simply cannot afford such expensive stationery. Boss, these stationery are not ordinary stationery. Let's just say this pen is. It's useless for you to tell me this. Even I can't accept this price. Do you think a group of students can accept it? Okay, let's go. I'm still busy cooking. The boss didn't give the man a chance to speak, and didn't even look up. Went back. The man scratched his head in frustration, then quickly cheered up and walked into the next store with a smile. Xiao 11, let's go eat. Lu Su had already finished the phone call and asked Ning 11 to push Lu Nan to follow her. Three people found a noodle restaurant and waited for a few minutes before finding 3 locations. Lu Su ordered noodles outside and came in to sit down opposite Ning 11 and Lu Nan. The food here is expensive and tastes terrible. The noodles in this store are pretty good. I eat here every time I come here. Ning 11 understood that Lu Su explained this specifically because he was worried that they would think that he brought them to the city and treated them to a bowl of noodles, so she smiled and said, "Brother, we are not particular." Lu Su poured the tea into the bowl, handed the teapot to Lu Nan, picked up a pair of chopsticks and stirred it in the bowl. Lu Nan poured 2 bowls of tea, took 2 pairs of chopsticks and stirred it. The sanitary conditions in such a small place are not good, so you can eat more safely by scalding the bowls and chopsticks. There were a total of 6 people sitting at their table. The other 3 people arrived before them and were already eating. Sitting next to Lu Su was a man who looked to be in his 30s. This man's eyes were almost glued to Ning 11. Feeling the other party's gaze, Ning 11 frowned unhappily, and gently pulled Lu Nan's clothes with her hand under the table. Of course she had to let her man come forward at this time, otherwise she would use him as a decoration. Lu Nan raised his head and saw the eyes of the person opposite him. He put his hand on Ning 11's waist and pulled the person into his arms. He looked at the person opposite with a cold expression. Is something wrong? Seeing that the man was found, he didn't dare to say a word and hurriedly lowered his head to eat the noodles. After that, the man didn't dare to look at Ning 11 until he left. A small incident did not have much impact on the 3 of them. When the noodles were served, there were only 3 of them left on the table. Lu Nan also asked, I heard that Boss Yang was chatting with his elder brother before. They were talking about the market, that empty space at the back. Lu Su took a sip of noodles and said, well, they are attracting investment up there, and the price is quite cheap. I heard that almost all the bosses there bought a piece of land. Ning 11 glanced at Lu Su out of the corner of her eye and couldn't help but he reminded me aloud, brother, you can also buy a piece of land. Even if you don't use it yourself, you can rent it out or resell it in the future and you can make a lot of money. Lu Su shook his head. Don't think this place is very popular now. No one knows what it will be like in the future. I heard that a large wholesale market is going to be built in the North District, and then all the merchants here will be arranged there. Go to the side. Before, Ning 11 only suspected that this area might be the Little Lotus wholesale market. After knowing that the train station was also here, she was very sure that this must be the Little Lotus wholesale market. In order to let Lu Su seize the opportunity, she continued to persuade, this is another place. Even if there is no wholesale market in the train station, the land must still be valuable. It must be valuable. A voice suddenly came out from behind Ning 11 and the others. The 3 of them subconsciously searched for the sound and looked over. It's the salesman I saw at the door just now. The salesman was packing his backpack. He seemed to be more interested in the topic of Ning 11 and the others. He reached out and moved all the things scattered on the table to Ning 11 and the others. While packing, he said, Boss, what are you talking about? The piece of land behind the Lane Comprehensive Market. This person seemed a bit familiar to him. Lu Su felt a little unhappy, but nodded politely on his face. I've been wandering around here for more than half a month. I've visited every nook and cranny. I've also been to the large market you mentioned, boss. I asked the workers inside and found out that the place was building a machinery city. That's all. I've been wandering around this area for 3 days, and I dare say that regardless of how cheap it is now, the land there will definitely be very valuable in the future. Lu Su just thought the other party was bragging and smiled politely without answering. Ning 11 glanced at the salesman with some surprise. Is this person really just a salesman? These eyes are too poisonous. Seeing that the other party had no intention of chatting with him, the salesman didn't say much and continued to organize his things. There were several boxes of pens, pencils, notebooks, and erasers in front of him. Ning 11's eyes fell on a pen scattered on the table. The black pen looked nothing special, but what attracted Ning 11 were the small characters on the pen, Xiaoxiang brand. This brand of pens is still very famous even in later generations, not for anything else but because of the high quality of this brand of pens. So far, she seems to have not seen any for sale here. Brother, do you want to sell this pen? It's not just for sale, it's for promotion, the salesman replied before raising his head and looking at Ning 11. What a handsome girl. It's not like he has never seen beautiful and fashionable girls all over the country, but like Ning 11. It's rare to see someone be attracted to someone at a glance. The most important thing is that this girl is very smart, which can be seen from what she just said. Seeing a flash of disappointment in the girl's eyes, he quickly added, if you really want to buy it, I can sell you one for the wholesale price. I want 5, one for myself, one for Lu Nan, one for Lu Zhengai, one for Lu Bei, and one for Lu Lin. Lu Xiao can forget it if he doesn't need it now. Girl, my pen is from the Xiaoxiang brand. I wonder if you have heard of this brand. This pen is very popular in big cities. It is more durable than ordinary pens. The most important thing is that it is really easy to use. You can give it a try. The salesman quickly took out a piece of paper and handed it to Ning 11 along with a pen. End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 64. Chapter 64, Old Friends from the Past. Ning 11 picked up the pen and wrote a few words on the paper. The salesman stared at a few words written randomly on the paper. The girl's handwriting is really beautiful. Are you a teacher? Student Ning 11 pursed her lips and replied, covering the pen and putting it down. Her eyes inadvertently scanned the words on the paper, Zhou Wanglong. Is it the Zhou Wanglong that I know? She looked at the other person calmly, and only after this inspection did she confirm that this person was really Zhou Wanglong, whom she had known in her previous life. In her previous life, when Ning 11 met Zhou Wanglong, he was already a shareholder and sales director of Hesheng Shenxi Pharmaceutical Company. It is said that when Zhou Wanglong went to Shenxi Pharmaceutical Company to run sales, Shenxi Pharmaceutical Company was still just an unknown small company. It only took Zhou Wanglong just 5 years to promote Xie Pharmaceutical Company's products nationwide and let the country know its existence. Although this has something to do with the company's products, without strong sales, no matter how good the product is, no one will promote it. It's no use either. This is the same principle as a good horse with a good saddle. Ning 11 smiled slightly and asked, I guess your accent is from Hesheng. Is my accent that strong? A bit. Ning 11 smiled again. Hesheng is quite far away from our Sichuan capital. Why did you come here to do sales promotion? Our factory opened a branch factory in Jiayuan City, and I was sent to develop the market. That makes sense. Jiang City also belongs to Sichuan province. It is not far from Jiang City where Ning 11 is located. It can be reached by train in one day. Ning 11 nodded and picked out 5 pens from the box. How much do they cost? 15 yuan each. As if she was afraid that Ning 11 would think he was lying to her, she quickly said, I guarantee this is definitely the wholesale price. I came here to develop the market, not to buy a few pens. Ning 11 took out 75 yuan from her bag and handed it to Zhou Wanglong. This pen is worth this price, but the wholesale price is only 15 yuan. It's really difficult to open up the market here. A hint of bitterness flashed in Zhou Wanglong's eyes, and then he said confidently, everything is difficult at the beginning. As long as one shop is willing to keep my pen, countless merchants will keep my pen in the future. It seems that Zhou Wanglong has difficulties in coming here to develop the market, and that's right. A smart person like him doesn't know the current economic situation in Yujiang City, and there is no way he can afford such an expensive pen. I quite like your indomitable character. I have opened a small food processing workshop in Yaoxiang town. If you can't make it in your current factory, you can come to my place and give me a try. The basic salary is 50, and you can take a commission if you want. Depends on the product. Basic salary is 50 RMB, plus commission. This girl really just opened a small workshop. No, didn't she say that she was still a student? Are all students now making their own workshops? Zhou Wanglong sat there in a daze, unable to regain his consciousness even if he helped her. Ning 11 didn't say anything. When Lu Su and Lu Nan had put down their chopsticks, Ning 11 stood up and pushed Lu Nan to leave. If you are interested, you can come to Yaoxiang Town Zhenghua Garment Factory. That is my eldest brother's factory. He can lead you. Found me. After coming out of the noodle shop, the three of them got in the car and went straight to the machinery city. On the way, Lu Su couldn't help but asked, Xiao 11, you need sales, I can introduce you to a few. Ning 11 pursed her lips and smiled, don't be in a hurry when it comes to finding sales. I just think this person is quite interesting, so I reached out to recruit him. Lu Su nodded and said nothing more. Lu Nan, on the other hand, glanced at Ning 11 calmly. Could that guy from Hesheng be someone his daughter-in-law knew in her previous life? The car soon arrived at the machinery city. The machinery city was still under construction, and the road was under construction. Trucks could not pass, so they had to get off the car and walk. The road was filled with potholes and dirt roads. Occasionally, cars passing by would raise layers of dust, which made Ning 11 choke and keep coughing. Across the road is the machinery city. There are all kinds of machines here, and you can buy anything you want. After shopping around, I finally chose a manufacturer with a reasonable price and bought 2 sealing machines. After loading the sealing machines into the car, Ning 11 asked again, brother, is there a large flea market in the city? Flea market? Lu Su thought for a while before saying, there is a big flea market in the West District. Lu Su raised his hand and looked at the watch on his wrist. It's probably not too late to rush to the West District now. Is there anything important you want to buy? I want to buy a refrigerator and go back to make popsicles. Refrigerators are a luxury product in this era. An imported one costs at least more than 4,000 yuan, and a domestic one costs more than 2,000 yuan. The terrible thing is that you have money. You may not be able to buy it yet. Whether making popsicles, fruit tea, ice powder, or sour plum soup, a refrigerator is needed. When Ning 11 came over, she wanted to go to the flea market. If she could find a second-hand refrigerator, her plan could come true. Refrigerators may not be for sale, so we can only go there and take a look around. Lu Su asked the two of them to get in the car and drove straight to the West District. Just as Lu Su said, refrigerators may not be for sale. The three of them searched all the flea markets but could not find any refrigerators. After walking around all afternoon, Ning 11 was tired, hot, and disappointed. The three of them looked a little tired when they came out of the flea market. As he walked to the car, Lu Su asked aloud, are you going back? Before Ning 11 could nod, Zhou Wanglong's voice sounded from behind, hey. I met you again. Zhou Wanglong trotted all the way to the three of them and waved to them with a smile, bosses, we are really destined. At noon today, Zhou Wanglong seemed to say that he had been wandering around Zhang City for half a month. He even went to the mechanical and electrical city that was being built. I wonder if he had seen anyone selling refrigerators. With the attitude of giving it a try, Ning 11 went out. Brother Joe, do you know where I can buy second-hand refrigerators? Second-hand refrigerators, I remember seeing some for sale. Joe Wanglong recalled carefully and immediately said, there is a refrigerator in a garage sale shop in the North District. Ning 11's eyes lit up and she immediately asked, can you take us there to have a look? It's okay, it's okay. Joe Wanglong glanced at his watch, it's already 6:30 now. After I accompany you there, I don't have a car to go back to the West District. I've booked a place to stay here. It's okay, we'll send you over soon. With Lu Su's guarantee, Joe Wanglong no longer postponed getting in the car and taking the three of them to the thrift store. The refrigerator still looked very new, and it was still running normally. At this moment, the boss happened to have the power plugged in. There are also watermelon and popsicles inside. After some haggling, Ning 11 took the refrigerator for 500 yuan. After loading the refrigerator into the car, Lu Su first drove Joe Wanglong back to the West District. Knowing that Joe Wanglong lived in the guest house, Lu Su proposed that they also stay in the guest house tonight. It is almost 8 o'clock now. There are no street lights on the road at this time, and it is very dangerous to drive at night. End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 65. Chapter 65. I want to go to the hospital. Back in the West District, they first found a place to have dinner. They had Chinese food in the evening. Ning 11 ordered 3 meat dishes, 1 vegetarian dish and 1 soup. Lu Su and Joe Wanglong each drank a glass of wine. Joe Wanglong is a familiar person and a very talkative person. After a few glasses of wine, he completely let go. He put his hand on Lu Su's shoulder and once again talked about the land being sold in Zhoxiang Comprehensive Market. After Joe Wanglong's analysis, Lu Su really had the urge to buy a piece of land there. It was also at this time that Lu Su discovered that Ning 11's eyes were really poisonous. Joe Wanglong was indeed a talent. If it weren't for Ning 11, he has already fallen in love with this person, and he really wants to kidnap this person to his factory. After dinner, Joe Wanglong took the three of them to the guest house where he lived. The woman behind the bar saw the 3 people entering the door and asked lazily, how many rooms? Lu Su replied, 2 rooms. There are 5 cents, 1 yuan, and 3 yuan. Which one do you want? Joe Wanglong introduced from the side, the one with 50 cents is Datong View. You'd better not choose Datong View. There are 15 people in one room, and the men and women in the room have all kinds of inconveniences. You can live in a single room with 1 cent. A single room that costs 1 yuan does not have a bathroom or hot water. It's uncomfortable not to take a shower on such a hot day. Lu Su took out 6 yuan and put it on the counter. For 3 yuan, we need at least a room on the first floor. The woman glanced at Lu Nan and quickly completed the formalities, then took out 2 keys from the drawer, 103, 207. That's it, you guys have a rest first. Seeing that the 3 of them had completed the formalities, Joe Wanglong turned around and left. After getting the key, Lu Su sent the 2 of them into room 103. Before leaving, he said, lock the door when you go to bed at night. Don't sleep too hard. Ning 11 walked around the house. Although the room was quite small, it at least had a bathroom and hot water. The 3 yuan was well spent. At the end of the day, Ning 11 was sweating a lot and her body and hair were covered with dust. She went to the bathroom and took a shower. She didn't expect to spend the night here without taking any clothes with her. Fortunately, today I bought some bath towels at Zhoxiang Comprehensive Market, and they are just in use now. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Lu Nan turned around and saw Ning 11 coming out wrapped in a bath towel. Her expression darkened unconsciously, but she quickly gathered her thoughts and pushed the wheelchair to the bathroom. After taking a shower, Lu Nan also wrapped himself in a bath towel and washed both of their clothes. In this weather, it only took one night to dry the washed clothes by hanging them in front of the window. There was no wind, so Ning 11 opened the window and walked in front of the window to blow the air and wipe her hair with a dry towel. Lunan wiped his short hair, stepped forward and took the towel from Ning 11's hand, and wiped her hair. "It's so late, I'm still washing my hair, and I don't know when I can dry it. My head is full of sweat, and it will stink if I don't wash it." Ning 11 picked up another dry towel and wiped the hair next to her. The two of them wiped it together to dry it faster. The night was silent, the sky gradually darkened, and the moonlight secretly filtered into the house through the window and fell on the two of them. The room was very quiet. Apart from the breathing of the two of them, the only sounds were the clear ticking of the watch on his wrist and the rustling of the leaves outside the window. The person behind her gently wiped her long hair, and her long ink-like hair was scattered randomly on her back. The half-dried hair on her head was fluttering in the evening breeze, wrapped in a faint fragrance. That soft long hair lingers between the fingers, soft and itchy. After finally drying his hair, the two of them hugged each other and lay on the bed. They were obviously very tired, but they couldn't fall asleep at the moment, so they pulled up his clothes. "Brother Nan." "Yeah. I saw Ning Xiaohe today." Ning Xiaohe, Lunan tried his best to recall. "Is there someone in the Ning family named Ning Xiaohe?" "My aunt, the one in my necklace." Ning 11 subconsciously touched the necklace around her neck. Because the room was dark, Ning 11 could not clearly see the expression on Lunan's face. She only knew that he opened his eyes and looked at her. "I don't know how Ning Dalong found my aunt when they called her back. They wanted to borrow money from her or match Ning Hong." Lunan thought for a moment and then said, "They could ask you to donate a kidney to Ning Hong before, so they should have solved the problem of the surgery fee." Ning 11's eyes flashed with displeasure. If she matched, Ning Hong would jump in front of her again. As if feeling that Ning 11 was not happy, Lunan comforted her, "There is no guarantee that she will be a match. Neither her parents nor her younger brother will be able to match her. The aunt who is one floor away may not be able to match her either. She is a doctor herself and knows that there is a certain chance of matching even if there is a gap in generations, but there is no need to discuss this with Lunan." She suddenly wanted to go to the hospital for a visit. This was probably the most painful time for Ning Hong. How could she not go and care about her? A smile flashed in her eyes and she immediately said, "I want to go to the hospital tomorrow." "You're not allowed to go." His eyes suddenly shrank, and his tone of refusal was a bit domineering. She almost forgot that this man has always been domineering, just like when they first got married. Whenever he did something he didn't want her to do, he would use a commanding tone to tell her to stop. In the past, Ning 11 would not have dared to say a word at this time, but now. She pulled on his clothes, raised her head and looked at him pitifully. "I just went to have a look, and I didn't want to meet them." The room was very dark, and he could not see her expression clearly, but he was melted by her soft tone, but this did not mean that he would give in on this matter. "No, if we bump into each other, Ning Dalong and the others will definitely not. You will leave the hospital intact." At this time, Ning Dalong and the others were eager for Ning 11 to go to the hospital and give Ning Hong a kidney transplant. If she went, she would definitely be left in the hospital by the couple. In her previous life, Ning 11 was forcibly sent to the operating room to have Ning Hong's kidney replaced. This showed that someone in the hospital was helping Ning Dalong and the others. Although he was confident that he could protect her and prevent her from being sent to the operating room again, he was unwilling to let her take risks or suffer any harm. "I just want to see what Ning Hong looks like now. Brother Nan, I want to go. I promise to see it, Brother Nan." Ning 11 started to act coquettishly, holding his clothes and shaking it gently, her tone soft. She was soft and had a bit of a cry in her voice. Her Jinbei said that women who can act coquettishly are better off, but I don't know if this trick will work here in Lunan. Obviously, her move was useful to him. He frowned and hesitated for a long time, and finally compromised, "Let the eldest brother accompany you in. Remember not to enter the ward, and not to let them see you. Promise not to go in, I'll just look outside." Ning 11 was afraid that he would regret it, so she immediately vowed that she was not stupid and would not jump out and let Ning Dalong take her to the operating room again at this time. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 66. Chapter 66. Another love brother appears. Ning 11 woke up when the first ray of sunlight shone on the bed. Get up, wash up, put on clothes and push Lunan out. I didn't walk far away, and saw Zhou Wanglong come out of a room from the opposite side. He didn't notice the Ning 11 and Lunan behind him, and was rubbing his eyes and yawned to walk outside the door. Arriving at the room where Zhou Wanglong came out before, Ning 11 subconsciously took a look inside through the ajar door. Zhou Wanglong lived in Datongpuo. As he said, there were more than a dozen people sleeping in the room, including two. This woman seems to be with the man next to her, wrapped in the same quilt with the man. This situation is not a big deal in this era. Most people who leave their hometowns and come to the city do not bring much money with them. It is normal to live in a large store like this in order to save money. Of course, under normal circumstances, single women would not dare to live in Datongpuo. Without a man to protect them, this kind of place would be like hell. When Ning 11 and Lunan went out, Zhou Wanglong slumped on the sofa and yawned. When he saw the two people coming out, he waved to them, "Good morning." Ning 11 nodded towards Zhou Wanglong and went to the boss to buy 2 bottles of water. She handed one bottle to Zhou Wanglong. She unscrewed the bottle cap and took a sip, then handed it to Lunan. Zhou Wanglong smiled helplessly. The accommodation fee is 60 cents a day, whether in a big city or a remote city. After a while, Lu Su came down from upstairs, and the three of them invited Zhou Wanglong to finish breakfast before leaving. They went to the Municipal People's Hospital first. Lu Su accompanied Ning 11 into the inpatient ward. She searched for her previous memories and went to the 3rd floor. Ning Hong still lived in the same ward where she lived in her previous life. In the ward, Ning Hong's face was pale. She leaned weakly against a doctor in a white coat and shed tears. "Brother Hua, what should I do if my aunt and I are not worthy of each other?" The doctor raised his hand and gently stroked her head. "Isn't there your brother? If it doesn't work, I can only ask your brother to perform a transplant on you." Ning Hong raised her head and looked at the other party with tears in her eyes. "My parents will not agree. My younger brother is the male of my family. He will marry a wife and have children in the future, and he will continue the Ning family lineage." The doctor lowered his head and pressed a kiss on her pale lips. "Don't worry, I'll go talk to them then." Ning Hong shook her head hurriedly. "Even if my parents agree, I won't want my brother's kidney. He is still young and cannot be ruined because of me." "Silly girl, if you don't want his kidney, you will." "Ah!" It hurts. The sudden pain in her body made Ning Hong exclaim. She clutched Yang Huahua's white coat and her body trembled greatly. "Brother Hua, I hurt, give me medicine." The doctor quickly put Ning Hong down, poured some warm water from the table next to her, and fed Ning Hong to swallow painkillers. Ning 11 knew this man. He was Ning Hong's chief physician, Yang Huahua. In her previous life, this was the person who helped them take away her kidney. She once met Yang Huahua at an academic exchange meeting. He was the vice president of the Imperial Friendship Hospital, and Ning Hong was the president of that hospital. In the past, she thought that Yang Huahua would help them take away her kidney because he had received money from Ning Dalong. Later, Yang Huahua threatened Ning Hong with the kidney transplant, so that he could quickly take the position of vice president. Only now do we know that they are lovers. Xiao 11 Lu Su grabbed Ning Xiao's arm and pulled her to the other side. Someone is coming. Two nurses came over with a trolley. When they passed by the door of Ning Hong's ward, the two nurses glanced into the ward. One of the nurses whispered, "We are hugging each other again. This Ning Hong is really amazing." Within a few days of coming to the hospital, Dr. Yang was very confused. Another nurse also whispered, "No, such a decent person as Dr. Yang would actually mess around with his wife behind his back. If Sister Yun finds out, she will definitely not let Ning Hong go." "Don't talk nonsense." It turned out that he had a wife. A flash of light flashed in Ning 11's eyes. She really thought that Ning Hong had met true love again. Lu Su reminded in a low voice from the side, "Go down first. Ning Dalong and the others must have gone to get food at this time, so don't run into them." Okay. Ning 11 nodded and walked downstairs with Lu Su. When I walked to the stairs on the first floor, I happened to meet Ning Xiaohe. Ning Xiaohe looked much more haggard than yesterday, and her eyes were so swollen from crying that there was only a slit left. Ning Xiaohe was holding a lunch box in her hand. She had just returned from eating in the cafeteria. She turned around suddenly and looked at the back of a girl for a long time, unable to recover. After coming out of the hospital, Ning 11 sat in the car and said nothing. She was a little confused. She wanted to stay in the city for a few more days. She wanted to find Yang Kuahua's wife and tell her about Ning Hong's involvement in her family. There would definitely be a good show to watch, but if she stayed here for a few more days, the family would. What should she do? This will not only affect her ability to make money, but may also result in not being able to sell all the cans at home. Seeing that she was silent, Lu Nan could only look at Lu Su with questioning eyes. Xiao 11 is probably struggling with how to tell you about this, but I don't think there is anything to worry about. You have nothing to do with Ning Hong long ago, and there is nothing that cannot be said. Lu Su told the story about Ning Hong's affair with a married man without any secret, and then added, "By the way, according to what they said, Ning Yang's kidney is suitable for Ning Hong, but they probably won't agree with Ning Hong. Yang gave Ning Hong a kidney transplant." Lu Nan was not surprised that Ning Yang would not transplant Ning Hong's kidney, nor did he care much. What he cared about was Yang Kuahua. The person who helped Ning Hong steal her daughter-in-law's kidney in her previous life was Yang Kuahua. This person was also Ning Hong's underground lover. The child Ning Hong gave birth to was later found to be Yang Kuahua's. "Brother Nan, do you have any acquaintances in the city?" "Forget it, it's better to hire someone to do this, but you can't delay making money for Ning Hong. I have a comrade who lives in the city. Do you want to ask him to find Yang Kuahua's wife?" Ning 11 nodded hurriedly, "Yeah. Just ask him to mention Yang Kuahua and Ning Hong's affairs appropriately." "Okay, call him when you get back. It just so happens that Ning Dalong hasn't settled the matter with him before he kidnapped you, so I asked my comrades to help solve the problem." Lu Nan smiled, smiling happily. That he was willing to let him help with this meant that she trusted him enough and was willing to share everything with him, except for rebirth. At 11:30, the three of them returned to Yao Township. Ning 11 and Lu Su carried the sealing machine into the rental house. The refrigerator was too heavy and they had to find someone for help. And he came out of Baohe Hall and saw Ning 11 and the others moving things. She walked over and asked with a smile, "Are you ready to move here?" Ning 11 smiled and nodded, "Yeah. We will move here in a few days." And I was talking about coming over and renting the house to you in a while." And he smiled and waved her hand, "It doesn't matter if I give it to you anytime." End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 67. Chapter 67. Business is booming. They chatted for a while, and Dr. Chen also walked out of Baohe Hall. "Zionan, come here, let me take a look at your legs." Dr. Chen stepped forward to check Lu Nan's legs and took his pulse. And he explained from the side, your aunt came over yesterday afternoon and lifted Lunan's leg. Knowing that Lunan's leg had a reaction, Dr. Chen was excited but couldn't believe it, so he offered to check Lunan. Dr. Chen pressed Lunan's leg. I heard from your aunt that it hurts even if you pinch it lightly. Xiao 11 has changed the prescription for me in the past 2 days, and the pain is no longer as bad as before. That's right, looking at your current condition, you'll be able to move in less than half a month. Dr. Chen looked at Ning 11 with a smile. Where did Xiao Ning learn from you? I only know that my master's surname is Shen. Shen. Dr. Chen pondered for a long time before saying, the surname is Shen. The Shen family in Hesheng did have this ability. Although Dr. Chen didn't ask, Ning 11 understood that he was asking if she had any connection with the Shen family in Hesheng, so she smiled and said, I'm not sure. My master only said his surname was Shen, and nothing else explain. Where is Dr. Shen? I wonder if he can introduce us to him regardless of whether he is from the Shen family or not. Dr. Chen wants to meet such a powerful doctor. Ning 11 shook her head apologetically, I'm sorry, Uncle Chen, my master has passed away. Dr. Chen nodded in disappointment, alas. What a pity. After leaving the rental house, the three of them went to the textile factory and asked the 2 stall holders to help carry the refrigerator into the shop. By the time they arrived at the Jinghua garment factory, it was already 12:30. They had already had dinner during the Zhouhui meeting. When they saw the 3 of them coming back, they immediately went to the kitchen to cook noodles for the 3 of them. After eating the noodles, Lu Su drove them back to Ziahe village. What happened in the village? Lu Su was puzzled. He saw more than 20 cars parked at the entrance of the village from a distance. Who in their village could attract so many cars? Even a bicycle is very rare in this era. How come there are so many bicycles in their small village suddenly? Ning 11 glanced ahead and was surprised when she saw the car at the entrance of the village. There shouldn't be some invisible big shot in our village. For example, Ning Hong has a biological father who is a high official in the imperial capital. Speaking of Ning Hong, are these cars here to see Ning Hong? Her father, a high-ranking official, came to her door in advance. There were already cars parked in front of them, so Lu Su could only park behind them. After getting off the car, he was going back in a hurry. Seeing such a huge crowd in the village, he was really curious, so he followed Lunan and Ning 11 walked towards the village. The village was very quiet, and they saw no one along the way. When they approached the door of their house, they saw a long queue of sellers who came to pick up goods. Some of them knew Ning 11 and his wife, and they were smiling with them. People say hello. Lao Zhou stood in the queue with sweat on his face. When he saw Ning 11, he immediately put his backpack on his seat and walked forward to say hello, Xiao Lu, Sister Ning. Ning 11 and Lunan greeted Lao Zhou politely and chatted for a few words. Lao Zhou wiped the sweat from his face. Sister Ning, you can't do this. You have to continue to increase production. I'll do this at 10 o'clock this morning. I just came over here, but I haven't received the goods yet. What's the situation? It's already 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Lao Zhou hasn't received the goods for so many hours. Although she was confused in her heart, Ning 11 still smiled brightly on her face. Yes, we must increase production. I see that everyone is very hot. Brother Zhou, wait for me for a while, and I will bring out some tea for Dad. Lao Zhou smiled and waved his hand. Yes, Sister Zhang just gave everyone chrysanthemum tea. Ning 11 was still worried about the production situation at home, so she talked with Lao Zhou and found an excuse to go back. Yingzi, go over there and see how much goods can be shipped, Lu Zhengai told Lu He and his wife with a serious face. When he looked up and saw Ning 11 and the others, he walked over and said, come back. They chatted for a while before Ning 11 asked, what's going on with Dad and second sister-in-law now? I just heard from Brother Zhou that he'd be here at 10 o'clock. Why haven't you gotten the goods yet? Speaking of this, Zhang Ying looked helpless. I don't know what's going on. Yesterday, a lot of salesmen drove from other places came to my house. These people were all picking up goods one by one. No wonder, people in the front are getting goods one by one, and people in the back will have to wait longer if they want to get goods. Lu Zhengai also said from the side, Xiao 11, these people from other places said they have channels to handle grain. I will directly calculate the wholesale price for them in cash. It's okay to accept cash, but why do so many outsiders suddenly come? There must be no conspiracy. It should be Zhou Tong who helped. Lu Nan asked Zhou Tong to help promote the situation to leaders from other places a few days ago. Those who drove here must have gotten the news from Zhou Tong. Knowing that it was not a conspiracy, Ning 11 felt relieved. By the way, Xiao 11, these people coming from other places want to take some dried fish and spicy strips back, but if they can't be sold in bulk, they will go bad. I thought you had already bought a sealing machine, so let them wait for 2 days. Have you got the sealing machine back? Should we start producing spicy strips and dried fish? I have placed the sealing machine in the town. Brother Nan and I will go to the town to recruit some people and put it into production early tomorrow morning. After the apricots from Zancan were delivered, in order to make canned apricots as soon as possible, Ning 11's family and Lu Zhongying's family all set up workshops. Except for the Ning family, everyone in the village was invited to work at Ning 11's house. Now if we want to find people to make spicy strips and dried fish, we can only go to the town to recruit people. Lu Zhengai said aloud, Xiao 11, why don't we also produce some canned fruits over there? Now our family and your second uncle's family have no place to add pots. We open 2 workshops and we can ship goods faster. We can quickly make the apricots into cans. If they go bad, it will be troublesome. Lu Nan nodded and said, we can arrange it this way, just so that the salesmen who come from other places can go directly to the town to pick up the goods after tomorrow. Because she was going to open a workshop in the town, Ning 11 went to the small shop and called Zhou Tong to help transfer 2 cars to help drag the 2 cars of apricots to the town. She also called Chen Hai to help deliver a batch of glass bottles. In the town, Zhang Ying just called Chen Hai yesterday to place an order for glass bottles. It just so happened that these glass bottles would be delivered to the town early tomorrow morning. Ning 11 also made a call to the supplier and asked them to help overnight. Send a batch of condiments over. After arranging everything, Ning 11 and Lu Nan got into Lu Su's car and returned to town. End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 68. Chapter 68 Continue to recruit people. The 2 of them went straight to the train station. There is an open space next to the station. I don't know when it started. People looking for jobs and recruiting people gather here. Boss, do you need anyone? Moving goods or coolies are all fine. Boss, do you want to build a wall? Boss, I can clean the house, take care of the house, or cook. As soon as Ning 11 and Lu Nan walked into this place, many people came up to ask. The canning workshop is recruiting people. The salary is 30 yuan a month. They need to be quick and agile. Ning 11 glanced at the people around her and shouted. She didn't recruit workers according to the wages paid to the villagers because the villagers' people are kind to the Lu family, and giving them more wages will make everyone work harder. It can also be regarded as a substitute for Lu Nan to help Lu Zhenhai repay everyone's kindness for pooling money to help him go to college. If you offer a higher salary of 45 outside, you can recruit a lot of workers, but it will also disrupt the market and cause dissatisfaction and resentment from other bosses. In fact, 30 is already a high salary. As soon as Ning 11 roared, almost everyone who came to look for a job gathered around her. Some people who came to recruit workers saw Ning 11 paying 30 as soon as she opened her mouth, and they all looked at her with disapproval. Too friendly a look. When will the boss start work? Boss, do you think I can succeed? Boss, I'm very quick at work and can do any job. Everyone, be quiet and listen to me first. Ning 11 shouted and waited for everyone to quiet down. I make snacks here. When you work here, you must follow the production steps I gave you step by step, because it's when it comes to cooking and eating, my hygiene requirements here are very strict. First, you are not allowed to smoke in the production room. Second, you must wash your hands when entering the production room. Third, you must change into clean clothes every day. Third, you must take a shower and wash your hair every day. Wear a hat, mask, and gloves when you go to work. I will prepare a hat and a mask for you. In addition to these 3 rules, I have many rules that need to be followed here. I will tell you the specific rules one by one after starting work. If you can meet these 3 rules, you can come to sign up with me. I'm telling you, I'll give you the salary of 30 yuan as soon as you ask for it. I thought there was such a good thing, but not everyone can abide by these 3 rules. After hearing Ning 11's recruitment conditions, other recruiters who had been a little dissatisfied with Ning 11 suddenly felt better. With so many harsh conditions, not many people were willing to do it for 30 yuan. Just as they thought, many of them left before Ning 11 finished speaking, muttering dissatisfied. You have to wash your hands when you enter, take a shower and wash your hair every day, otherwise you won't rub your skin until it becomes bald. I'm not allowed to smoke. I can't live without it. I change my clothes every day, but there are so many clothes to change. Ning 11 glanced at the crowd who had not left yet. Is there anyone else who wants to leave? If you don't want to leave, I need to take your pulse. I'm here to make food. People who are in poor health or have any infectious diseases don't want to leave. I still need to check my pulse. Why are there so many cutscenes in recruiting workers? That's right, I think this is not recruiting workers, but looking for trouble. Some more people left muttering. I'll go first. A man in his 30s rolled up his sleeves and walked up to Ning 11. Boss, I'm in good health and don't have any illnesses. Ning 11 put her hand on the man's wrist and simply checked his pulse. When she smelled the smell of cigarette smoke on the man's body, she pulled back and asked, "Brother, do you want to smoke?" The man immediately vowed, "I will not smoke in the production room as required. As long as you stop smoking in the production room, what do you call me brother, how old I am, and where I live?" Ning 11 took out a pen and paper and prepared to write down the other party's information. "I'll register." Lunan took the paper and pen. Zhang Dequi, 32 years old, from Tangzi village. Zhou Dequi immediately introduced himself without any shyness. He was named Zhang Dequi. The person who named him was probably not a fan of water margin. Zhang Dequi didn't think there was anything wrong with his name at all, and nodded seriously, "Yeah. Zhang Dequi." Lunan registered Zhang Dequi's information and added, "Except in the delivery room, you are not allowed to smoke in front of my wife. She is pregnant and cannot smell the smell of smoke." Zhang Dequi nodded again, "Remember." Someone here came up to check Ning 11's pulse and made sure that there was nothing wrong with him. Ning 11 asked him to register with Lunan. After some questioning, Ning 11 only recruited 37 workers. There were still people looking around, but they were unwilling to come because Ning 11 had too many rules. 30 or so people are fine, so let's do this for now. Ning 11 made an appointment with them to start work, and took 7 people who knew how to build walls and make stoves to buy 15 large iron pots and return to the rental house to build stoves. The stove must be built before tomorrow morning. This part of the labor will be paid according to the market price and will be paid immediately after the work is completed. At first, everyone was not happy when they heard that they would have to stay up late tonight. Once they heard that additional wages would be calculated, everyone immediately smiled and promised that they would be able to finish it today. I brought some vegetables when I came here in the afternoon. In the evening, workers were building a stove in the backyard. Ning 11 kneaded the dough to make noodles in the kitchen, and threw in some vegetables and fried tomatoes. After a while, a large basin of hot and fragrant shaved noodles was brought to the backyard. "What does it smell like? It's so fragrant. Someone made delicious food, it's getting dark, and my stomach is growling. How about we talk to the boss and go out to eat first? I think it's okay. The boss only said it would be finished today, and he didn't say he wouldn't let everyone eat." "It's time to eat." The workers in the backyard were discussing how to go out and finish dinner when they saw Ning 11 walking in with a big basin, followed by Lunan with a basin on his lap, with bowls and chopsticks in it. A group of people hurried forward to help get things. "Eat first, and then cook after you finish eating," Ning 11 greeted and picked up the bowls and chopsticks to help everyone choose noodles. "Boss, let's do it ourselves." Everyone had the nerve to ask Ning 11 to help cook the noodles and pick them into bowls. They quickly picked up the bowls and chopsticks to pick out the noodles themselves. Ning 11 handed the noodle bowl to Lunan and picked another bowl of noodles for herself. Everyone realized that after picking the noodles, they took the bowls and found a place to squat down to eat, leaving the stone table to Ning 11 and Lunan. "It's delicious. I have never eaten such delicious noodles." The worker ate the noodles in big mouthfuls and said vaguely, "This noodle is completely different from what you usually eat. It exudes a rich wheat aroma. I don't know how the noodles were cooked, but the aroma was very tempting." Not only did they eat all the noodles in the bowl, but they also drank all the noodle soup. They saw that there were still some noodles left in the basin, and Ning 11 he and Lunan had already put down their bowls and chopsticks, and several people came forward to portion out all the noodles in the bowls. Those who didn't get the noodles also drank the noodle soup. After everyone finished eating the noodles and put away their bowls and chopsticks, Ning 11 asked Zhang Dequi, "When will Brother Zhang finish the work?" Zhang Dequi quickly replied, "It will take about an hour." "Sure, you guys get busy first." Ning 11 picked up the basin and left with Lunan. After going to the kitchen to wash the dishes, the two of them returned to the house to give Lunan an acupuncture. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 69. Chapter 69. It feels very friendly. The moonlight is extraordinarily bright tonight, and the sky is dotted with sparkling stars, like a Milky Way paved with fine quicksand, lying in the green sky. Ning 11 leaned against the cabinet, quietly looking at the night sky outside without saying a word, and didn't move for a long time. "Xiao 11. Lunan called softly. Ning 11 came to her senses and turned to look at Lunan. "What's wrong, Brother Nan? Time is up." "Oh," Ning 11 responded, stepped forward and took off the silver needles from his body, then carefully disinfected them one by one and put them away. Seeing her distracted look, Lunan asked aloud, "What's wrong?" "It's nothing." Ning 11 sat on a stool and wiped the silver needle and said, "I met Ning Xiaohe when I came out of the hospital today. The moment we passed each other, a strange feeling arose in my heart." "Feel?" Lunan was putting on his pants. Hearing what Ning 11 said, he raised his head to look at her with a puzzled expression. "Feeling weird? How should I put it? She makes me feel very kind." Ning 11 scratched her hair in annoyance, "But it's obviously the first time we've met, how could I show such feelings to her?" Some emotions flashed through Lunan's eyes, but when he saw Ning 11's annoyed and confused look, he smiled softly. "It's normal for nieces and aunts to be friendly. I hope her kidneys are not worthy of Ning Hong's." It was rare for the Ning family to have such a close person to her, and she was somewhat willing to let her suffer. Ning Xiaohe looked like she was about to run away to her 4th year. The kidney transplant operation had done a lot of damage to her body, and she might not be able to recover from the damage in her lifetime. Lunan thought for a while and asked aloud, Why don't we go to the city to persuade her again and see if we can stop her from transplanting a kidney for Ning Hong? No, Ning Dalong and the others definitely didn't say a good word about me in front of her. If I go to her, she might ask me why I don't care about my sister. I don't know why she didn't seem to hear an insulting word coming from Ning Xiaohe's mouth. It was for this reason that when she saw Ning Xiaohe in the morning, she walked past her without looking away, without any intention of talking to her. It means Aunt recognizes each other. Don't think too much. Lu Nan was already dressed and sitting on the wheelchair. He pushed the wheelchair to Ning 11 and pushed Ning 11, it's been a tiring day. Go rest first. I'll just guard the backyard. Ning 11 shook her head, I'm fine. Brother Nan, you go and rest while I go and watch. There are a group of men in the backyard. It's midnight now. What are you going to do? Go to bed. Lu Nan's unquestionable voice made Ning 11 pout, and she climbed onto the bed obediently. He opened the quilt and covered her, don't think about it. Go to bed early. I'll go over and take a look. The morning light was faint, and bits of golden light pierced the clouds. The sound of roosters crowing continuously sounded. Ning 11 opened her sleepy eyes and yawned. Lu Nan is getting late already, and there is no one at home to help make breakfast. He should be making breakfast in the kitchen at the moment. Ning 11 patted her cheek, quickly put on her clothes, and walked out of the room. Lu Nan was washing up. When he saw her, he smiled and said, get up. Let's wash up first. The food is already prepared. You can eat it in a while. After washing up, the two returned to the kitchen to eat. The two of them were still eating when a shout came from the yard, boss, we're here. Ning 11 walked out of the kitchen and saw three women standing in the yard. The three of them immediately grinned when they saw Ning 11, good morning. Boss. Ning 11 first looked at the three of them and made sure that they were all cleanly dressed before saying with satisfaction, just call me Xiaoning. You guys sit down for a while and wait for me to finish eating before arranging work for you. The three of them nodded immediately, okay, you eat first. Ning 11 ignored them and walked back to the kitchen to eat. This morning Lu Nan made lean meat and vegetable porridge and steamed egg custard, which was delicious. The two of them finished breakfast slowly and went out. All the workers had arrived. Ning 11 glanced at Lu Nan's watch. It was not yet 7 o'clock. She had made an appointment with them to work at 7 o'clock. These people knew to come early. Scanning her eyes over everyone, and making sure that all of them were wearing clean clothes as she requested, Ning 11 took out the hats and masks she bought yesterday and asked everyone to put them on, and took them to the backyard. The stove had been built last night, and the yard had been cleaned. A bucket full of water and a porcelain basin were placed at the entrance of the backyard. These were all brought by Lu Nan to build the stove last night. Made by workers. Ning 11 took the lead in washing her hands, walked into the backyard, and quickly arranged work for them. Everyone, let me say it again. I'm here to make food. The biggest requirement is that it's clean. It must be clean. You can make do with your own clothes for the next 2 days. I will prepare 2 sets of work clothes as soon as possible. When the work clothes come down, you must wear work clothes every day and change them every day. When cooking food, you must wear a hat, mask, and gloves. Anything that falls on the ground, is moldy, or is broken must be thrown into the trash can. Ning 11 said a lot of rules in one breath. Since it needs to be formal, then production should follow the formal steps from the beginning, so that it will be easier and better to manage in the future. Ning 11 had vaccinated them yesterday. When Ning 11 explained the rules, everyone immediately accepted them, and everyone said they would abide by the rules. Ning 11 first arranged for someone to light a fire and clean all the large iron pots and porcelain basins that would be used. She taught step by step how to process apricot peels, make canned apricots, fry dried fish and spicy strips. Lunan also brought a few personally make spicy strips. Ning 11 made the sugar water for canning and the seasonings for dried fish and spicy strips in the nearby operation room. They only needed to follow the steps and pour in the seasonings and stir them a few times before the pot was ready. At around 9:30, Zhang came over with a few people. Zhang introduced aloud, Xiao 11, they are all salesmen from other places. Ning 11 nodded politely towards the other party, hello. A man with dark skin said, Sister Ning, can you get the goods today? I see that you don't have production here. Should we still go to Shanghe village to get the goods? You can get it from here. We can load one car at the moment. The boss who arrives first will load it first. A man in his 40s with a big belly stood up immediately, I was here first. If you don't believe me, you can ask Sister Zhang. It was indeed Brother Wang who came here first, Zhang said with a smile, turned around and asked Ning 11, are you loading the goods for Brother Wang now? Ning 11 asked Zhang to pour chrysanthemum tea for everyone, and invited everyone to sit in the yard and rest for a while. Ning 11 and Zhang went to the backyard to greet a few male workers to move goods. Ning 11 arranged things and asked aloud, is second brother back? I found it. He sent me to the town in the morning and asked him to go to Linzhen to pick up the goods at the moment. He is putting up signs outside. End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 70. Chapter 70. Have you decided on the child's name? Ning 11's eyes lit up and she immediately said, that's right, bring in all the stickers and put all the cans on it. Look at my memory, I brought all the stickers on the tricycle. Zhang smiled sheepishly and hurried outside to get the stickers. Ning 11 arranged for several aunts to come over and label the canned apricots. By the way, I also bought the crayfish that Xiaobei wanted to eat. You made them this afternoon and I took them back. No one at home made the crayfish, so Ning 11 had to prepare it and take it back. Ning 11 nodded, okay, I'll do it in the afternoon. The eldest brother named Wang came over with a smile and asked, Sister Ning, can you get the spicy strips and dried fish today? Some of the spicy strips and dried fish have been prepared, but they haven't been bagged yet. If Brother Wang wants to get them, he may have to wait a little longer. It's done. As long as I can get the goods, I will wait no matter how long. I heard from Sister Zhang that they can be stored for 3 months after being bagged. Please give me 50 kilograms each first. Sure, I'll arrange for someone to pack the bag right away. Ning 11 agreed and asked Zhang to go to the backyard to help. She asked a few people to come over and teach everyone how to use the sealing machine and seal it while labeling. At 12 o'clock, the work officially stopped. The workers took out the food they brought and warmed it up and walked out of the production room to find a corner to eat. Just like in the countryside, Ning 11 arranged a working meal for the salesman who came over and was waiting to pick up the goods. After lunch, Ning 11 left the matter to Zhang and took Lu He back to the shop. The signboard had already been ordered. Ning 11 took advantage of Lu He's opening time to look at the signboard of Ning Mi's small shop. When she opened the door and went in, the room was already filled with tables, chairs, and benches. These were made by Lu He in the past 2 days according to the drawings given by Ning 11. Ning 11 arranged the small shop to look like a milk tea shop in later generations. There was a row of booths on the right side of the door and a counter on the left. Under the counter was a glass cabinet specially used to display products. Inside the counter was a long table and refrigerator. This is the operation room. It was almost 5 o'clock after setting up the shop. After closing the shop and returning to the rental house, Zhang had already cleaned the crayfish and cut all the side dishes, onions, and garlic. Ning 11 only took half an hour to cook it. Put out a pot of crayfish. Lunan couldn't eat the crayfish, so Ning 11 only left one bowl and put the rest into the pot for Zhang and the others to take back. Before the two left, Ning 11 said, don't let the family make spicy strips tomorrow. From the day after tomorrow, the spicy strips and dried fish will be packed in bags. I will make a batch tomorrow, and my second brother will send some back first. If they don't think it's enough, let them come here to get the goods themselves. Okay, Luhi nodded immediately in agreement. Ning 11 continued to explain, after taking the stickers back, arrange for someone to put them on the cans and bottles. All the goods shipped tomorrow must have our own signboards. We must pay attention to the amount of stickers. When there are not many left, call and order immediately. My dad and the others are watching at home, so don't go back. I've sorted out the work here in the past 2 days. Brother Nan and I will go back and watch. Jianying smiled and nodded, okay, we'll bring our clothes here tomorrow and we'll stay here. Remember, don't tell the villagers about this address. Don't let Yang Yufeng come here to make trouble when the time comes. Although everyone has mentioned this issue before, Ning 11 couldn't help but say it, fearing that Yang Yufeng would come to her door. Beating and smashing. Jianying nodded to show that she knew, and reminded her aloud, don't call her name in front of Xionan, she is his mother after all. If you call her like this, Lunan will be unhappy. I know she was not stupid, how could she call Yang Yufeng's name directly in front of Lunan? After Luhi and Jianying left, Ning 11 walked into the production room and took a look. It was now 5:30 in the afternoon and it was already time to get off work. Everyone was doing finishing work, finishing the remaining work and washing the pots and pans. You can get off work as soon as the pot is ready. After the last pot of canned food was out of the cans, everyone started to pack up the pots. The spicy strips and dried fish were almost ready to be released. There were several large pots of dried fish and spicy strips waiting to be packed and sealed in the sealing group. Ning 11 walked over and said, you guys should pack up and get ready to go back. We'll do the rest of the work tomorrow. There were 4 people in the sealing team, and no one stopped the job in their hands. The responsible Captain Janya laughed and said, it is not hindered, we will do this before going back. Ning 11 immediately straightened her face, Ants, do you know why I asked you to get off work at 5:30? 4 people, including everyone in the production room, raised their heads and looked at Ning 11 in confusion. I have calculated the time at 5:30 for you. Even Aunt Zhang and Aunt Lu who live farthest away have not yet completely darkened when they return to the village. The eldest brother of our workshop can also walk at night. There is nothing to be afraid of, but the ants are not the same. If there is any danger along the way, I cannot bear the responsibility. After hearing what Ning 11 said, everyone knew why Ning 11 gave everyone an earlier time to get off work than the workers in other factories. Although Ning 11 said she couldn't take responsibility, everyone knew that she just didn't want everyone to be in danger. Everyone, especially the female workers, were extremely moved. They thanked Ning 11 and said a lot, Ning 11 is such a good boss. I will definitely help her with her work in the future. Ning 11 still had a straight face, okay, hurry up and clean up and go back. Okay, everyone agreed with a smile and immediately started to clean up. After all the workers left, Ning 11 returned to the front yard. Lunan had already prepared the meal and peeled all the crayfish. Seeing the lobster meat in the bowl, Ning 11 smiled and joked, you spoil me so much, I will develop a habit in the future, and I won't eat it without anyone to help me peel it. As long as I'm around, I'll peel it for you. When my son gets older, I'll teach him how to peel it. You and your daughter don't have to peel it yourself when I'm no longer around. Ning 11 was chewing crayfish in her mouth. When Lunan said this, she stopped chewing and raised her head to look at him blankly, you know they are a son and a daughter. 2 sons or 2 daughters are fine, but it would be better if we could have 1 son and 1 daughter. Lunan had a faint smile on his face and spoke carelessly, but in fact, his back was already soaked. He actually said that's the wrong thing to say. I hope my wife didn't notice anything. Knowing that she was overthinking, Ning 11 pursed her lips and smiled. Perhaps they really are a son and a daughter. I was afraid that he would think too much, so he quickly explained, although I don't have the ability to detect the male and female by feeling their pulses, I can roughly confirm that they are a pair of twins, and their pulse patterns are somewhat different. Lunan pretended to be confused and had no intention of exposing her. He followed her words and asked, "Well, have you decided on a name for the child?" "I'll take it." Ning 11 looked at Lunan in surprise. Lunan just smiled, "You are a mother, and your brain is better than mine. It's not who you choose." Sorry, because in a short story I wrote before, the heroine in it was called Ning Xia. The typing software automatically recorded these two characters. From time to time, when typing the name, it would type Ningzi as Ning Xia. When checking, I accidentally looked over it. Sorry, I didn't notice the typo. If you see it, you can remind me. If there are other typos, you can also remind me. As long as I see everyone's reminder, I will definitely modify it in time. Thanks. End of this chapter.